Matthew Modine is here. We know you from a lot of different stuff, but this weekend we know you from Girl in Progress. I was thinking about it. I was watching Eva Mendes, and it said something about the psychology of guys, because normally in movies when you see a relationship between a parent and a kid where the kid is distinctly more responsible than the parent, and the parent is not really raising this kid as much as the kid is raising the parent, yeah, I get annoyed at that. But I couldn't really be annoyed because it was Eva Mendes. You know what I mean? Like, it says something that a good-looking woman can get away with a lot, I think.
What was the Will Ferrell movie where he came, it was his girlfriend, Eva Mendes. And,
with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is going, like, no, she's not. Who is she?
Yeah, and he was hitting on her the whole time regardless. Other guys.
Yeah. That was a funny movie, man.
A good-looking woman can get away with a lot. You're also, now, this is a big summer for you.
Yeah. I think a good-looking woman can get away with a lot more than a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I think people, guys and girls, get annoyed with good-looking guys.
Yeah.
It's better to be kind of messed up. Like, if you're, like Marlon Brando, they say he was doing Streetcar Named Desire, and he was just too pretty when he was on Broadway. And before he would come out on stage, he would do a little boxing, you know, to make his entrance. He wanted to be sweaty. He's, you know, a dock worker. And so he used to box with one of the stagehands, and the stagehand popped him in the nose, broke his nose. He blood, but he had to make his entrance. So he came on the stage with a bloody nose all over him, you know, method actor, and it worked. And Marlon Brando actually got more interesting once he got that hooked nose, you know, when it was broken. He was too pretty. He was just too pretty.
Well, I think girls, like, they need to know that there's some kind of personality there. Yeah. You know what I mean? It maybe some kind of physical trait that's characteristic implies personality, whereas guys, like, we don't really need there to be any personality whatsoever. You're also part of this Dark Knight Rises movie, correct?
What's that, Dark Knight Rises?
Well, it's this new Batman movie I've been hearing about.
Oh, that's right.
And I saw a picture of you on the street carrying a pair of pink panties. So either you're in the Dark Knight Rises or there's something strange going on.
There's a lot of strangeness going on. Yeah.
You haven't said, you're not talking at all about it.
I'm not really talking about the pink panties. I will say that they ended up in my costume when we were filming at Wall Street. It was, you know, I did a movie called Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And R. Lee Ermey says, your days of finger-banging Mary Jane Rochester pretty pink panties are over. Yeah. And so there was that reference, but there was also this Vision Quest movie where I find Linda Fiorentino's panties in the dryer and horribly embarrassingly put them in my face. And so there was you know, the fact that they ended up in my costume on set, and I reached in for my walkie-talkie and pulled out a pair of pink panties.
Is that what it was?
And it was an opportune moment for a paparazzi to take a picture of me holding pink panties.
Is it tough to keep a movie like that private? Because obviously this is just a joke among the set, but that would go towards plot points and everything too. Like, you're in an interview with me trying to keep details of this film private. Is it tough? Like you said, you're filming on Wall Street. Yeah. How can you maintain
the paparazzis in New York know the rules better than anybody about how close they can get. You know, the sidewalk is public, so you can't really close the sidewalk. You know, so yeah, and we live in the age of the internet where nothing is you know, I mean, somebody takes a picture and it goes out and becomes some viral thing, and it becomes its own truth. You know, that has nothing to do with reality, but it becomes, I think they call it a meme. Meme, yeah.
A little internet meme.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you have to explain to your wife, who's ready to fight you, why you're carrying around a pair of pink panties on the set of Batman.
They were the most ginormous pink panties ever. That was for a very large human being. Those pink panties. So I think if my wife, you know, saw me with those pink panties, she would be sad for me. That I would, because they were for a very large human being.
Apparently, my husband has desires that I simply can't fulfill at this point. I have to accept this.
Yeah, I mean, that woman's ass had to be as big as this table.
It's a giant table
to fill out those pink panties. Full Metal Jacket. Anybody that goes through any kind of boot camp, you know, police officer, fire department, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force. where they have somebody yelling at them, owns that DVD. It's one of Warner Brothers' biggest selling DVDs, and it's actually now coming out in a second edition, Blu-ray edition.
Wow.
Which has photographs from my book, Full Metal Jacket Diary, which is being made into an app.
Yeah, I was reading it.
It'll be out this summer. So Full Metal Jacket Diary, the app. So they had me write a foreword to this new Full Metal Jacket Blu-ray edition about my working with Stanley Kubrick. And then you have all the Stanley Kubrick fans, you know, that are most, the only film fans that I have met that are more obsessive about Stanley Kubrick are those fans that are obsessive about Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Is there a similarity in the two directors, or is it just the fan base that's similar?
The fan base is not.
I mean similar in their sort of their lust for these films.
Yeah, the Kubrick fans are kind of a more intellectual obsessive fan, and the Nolan fans are passionate about supernatural, mystical kind of. Mysterious things about life. Where Kubrick fans are a different kind of obsessive fan.
And what do you, as an actor, what do you prefer? Do you like a movie like Full Metal Jacket that is so gritty, reality based? You know, this is actually happening to people, or something like a Batman where it's completely fantasy based?
Well, you as an actor, you play them both with the same intensity and a belief. You know, that you know, you have to say, Batman, you know, Batman's around the corner, and you know, so there's something ridiculous about that. Gary Oldman and I had a lot of conversations about some of the things that we have to say, because it is stuff that's based on comic book. Mm-hmm. So finding that reality of saying something so big and dramatic with the same kind of, it has to have a certain size, because it's Batman, you know. But you know, if you don't give it proper respect and belief, you fail. And if you give it too much, it's over the top.
Right. You don't need to get cartoony about it.
Yeah,
you need people to actually believe that there is a Batman.
Yeah, it's a dangerous fence to walk. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to go over the top, and it's really easy to underplay and be boring. So finding that you know, and Gary Oldman does it brilliantly. I think Christian Bale's Batman is fantastic. You know, finding that voice, that I'm Batman.
Yeah,
voice.
And it takes a lot of confidence to do it too, because he knows what he's doing, but he also knows that people are now cartoonizing and characterizing his Batman. Like, his Batman voice is the go-to Batman impression now. Yeah,
I saw him without the cowl on. You know, because he can't sit down when he's in the Batman armor outfit. Mm-hmm. And I walked into a room and he had it off, and he paints his eyes black, you know, because it would look weird if you know, the flesh tones underneath it, and so it made him appear a little bit like a raccoon, and he knows that looks kind of silly and ridiculous. And when I came in the room, and he said, "Matthew, now that you've seen me without the cowl on, I'm going to have to kill you." And so, I mean, you know, it was nice to hear his sense of humor, and he's a good guy, Christian. You know, there's that really famous eruption that he had on a film set.
I was going to say, any giant eruptions from it?
You know, I mean, the guy works more than any actor I've ever worked with. I mean, he just goes from picture to picture to picture.
And not only does he do it, but he does it like, he invests his whole being into it.
Yeah, he does it in an extreme way, physically and mentally. I mean, I would compare him to Daniel Day-Lewis that way, who only works, you know, once every 3, 4, 5 years, because I think that it takes a tremendous emotional toll on Daniel, the way that he commits himself to a role. Yeah. And Christian works much more, and you know, putting yourself through that, investing yourself into the character. So deeply.
And does he stay in character? Like, does he keep? Obviously, he finds some humor, so he's not just being Batman when you see him with the raccoon eyes. But does he keep the voice and maintain at least some semblance of the character?
I wouldn't say that Christian Bale does that. What I would say is that what he does is keep to himself to protect his journey as an actor.
Mm-hmm. What was it like for you as a young actor? With Kubrick, and he also had different ways of dealing with different people.
Yeah, I was with Kubrick. I can't not compare Stanley Kubrick, the experience of working with Kubrick, with any director I've worked with, just merely because of the length of time. Usually you're on a film for 3 months. I worked with Stanley Kubrick for 2 years. So my relationship with him was, you know, a friend, it was an employee, it was a frustration, it was tremendous humor.
And is he purposely getting you frustrated? Is he like, I need you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that what Stanley Kubrick, if I was going to compare him to a character that we all know and recognize, is the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz created a facade of you know, that big voice and the scary face, and then Toto goes down and pulls the curtain back, and you see there's just this little menschy guy that grew up in the Bronx who got in the movie business, making movies, and he created that facade in order to protect his art. He loved making movies more than anybody I've ever met. Maybe, I mean, it's Christopher Nolan loves making movies. So there is a similarity between the two of them there. But you know, like we were just talking about Christian protecting himself, not staying in character, but staying to himself to protect something. I think this is why Stanley Kubrick, you know, left New York, went to Los Angeles, and then ended up in London. Was a way to protect himself and be able to make the movies and the art that he loved so much
without falling into this, whatever it is, show businessy stuff.